Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, and this is the scheduled meeting for the South Kingstown Assessment Board of Review. The first order of business is roll call. David Bard, he is finally here. The gentleman next to me.
Brad Heavenor is present.
And the lady next to me.
Alice Klezik.
So we have a quorum. Next item of business is the approval of minutes from the January 21st, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
There's a minor typo in the minutes. At the adjournment, it said 12:30 a.m. And even though it felt like it was 12:30 a.m., I believe it was 12:30 p.m. So I would make a motion to approve the minutes with the time corrected.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Next item of business is new business for today's agenda. So we're doing number 60, right, Wendy? Okay, so the first item on the agenda is appeal number 60, Savage. Is there somebody here representing the appellant?
Good morning, I'm Joe Carnevale. I'm with Savage Law Partners in Providence, representing the owner of the property, and with me is John Savage.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you gentlemen would like to state or open up the, let us know what your comments are?
Sure. I'd like to make an opening statement if I could, and then turn things over to my attorney. I've been a resident in this town for over 40 years. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. I know you're volunteers. You spend an awful lot of time on this. It is a great town, a great place to live, and we raised our kids, sent them to West Kingston Elementary School. I own a lot of property. Probably close to 1 million square feet, over several dozen pieces of property. I've been in that business for 40 years. I have never, not once, complained about a tax bill. I've never appealed a tax bill, not once, of all of those properties. Because I believe that to be a good citizen, you have to pay your taxes, and that's how we provide the services that are necessary for municipalities and states and the federal government. And I just think that's a civic responsibility. However, I really believe in fairness, and I think that the process that has been applied to our home is just not fair. And because of that, I just can't let it continue. And I'm just going to give you a couple of matters of that, and then I'm going to turn it over to my attorney, and it'll be the last time that I'll participate in the process. But I candidly would feel remiss had I not at least given the town that I feel I'm very fond of my view of where we are with this. We lived next door to this property for many years and decided that we were going to build another house next door. We bought the land. The house was a very, it was just a nightmare property to build. Those I know in the trades and understand difficult processes. It was right in the middle of COVID, and it was not a good process, suffice it to say. I suspect what might have happened, and I've tried to understand where a mistake like this could have occurred, and I suspect what happened is the house took so long to build that it got assessed once when it was 70 or 80% complete, and then when the assessment came around again, they looked at what the prior number was, thinking that it was not 70 or 80% complete, but was a new house based on that, and then doubled the assessment. And just by coincidence, and again, I'm very experienced in this field. I've worked with appraisers many times. I've done hundreds of appraisals for my properties. Never have I seen a direct comp like we have on this house, and we have presented to the town on this house. And we all know that waterfront property, oceanfront property, is worth, for those that really know the town, oceanfront property is worth the most. South of Route 1 is worth more than north of Route 1. On Ministerial Road, from Tuckertown Road to Route 1, that area of Ministerial Road, which is a beautiful road, is worth significantly more than the portion of Ministerial Road from 138 to Tuckertown Road. Those are just the facts. It's been that way for decades. Our house is located between 138 and Tuckertown Road. The comp that we have is between Tuckertown Road and Route 1. It's also waterfront on a pond. We're on Warden's Pond, and that is on Tucker Pond, one of the Tucker long white pond. Those are all glacier ponds. They're beautiful. They're crystal clear. They're very deep. Warden's Pond, for those that you don't know, last 3 years, I haven't even been able to let my dogs out of the house because the pond's been closed because of the contamination and the algae blooms there. Can't let the kids out, can't let them swim, can't let them do any of that. So it's a problem. We're concerned about it. The neighbors are really focused on it. Fortunately, we've been able to get some biologists to focus on it and see if we can't make that situation better. But the comp that we have is on 16 acres. We're on 2.5 acres. It's a beautiful contemporary house, 18% bigger than ours, has more bedrooms, more baths, on a better pond. And that house sold at $2.4 million after having been on the market for quite some time. Our house was appraised at 1.7, approximately. And then I was stunned when we got that second one that more than doubled it to 4 million or 4.2, whatever it was. And then I came in and went through the casual meeting, laid out all the facts, showed the comps. Whoever I know, the person that was involved in that, I think was more of a note taker than a decision maker. And then we came in, and the property went from 4.2 to 4.7 or 4.8. It's just a crazy number. It's just a crazy, crazy number, particularly with that comp that is so incredibly perfect. And when we presented that to the town, and this is where I think the real fairness came in, rather than stepping back and evaluating, and Wendy, you do a fabulous job, and please don't take this as an indictment, I don't mean it that way, but rather than having, in my opinion, an open mind on it, what we got back was what I believe to be kind of ferreting around for comps that would support the decision, rather than evaluating whether the decision was fair or not. And what we got back were waterfront, oceanfront comps, with the exception of the old Jake Whitinger property, which he was a friend of mine before he passed, a world-class, spectacular property down on White Pond. And to use that as a comp is just, it was 40 or 50 acres, an unbelievable house, just something out of Architectural Digest or Town and Country, probably both of those things. And so that's what's motivated me to come and just tell my story about that. And then I'm hopeful that we'll get down into that 1.7 range where I think the house should be valued, but if not, we'll go through the process. I just want to say that if we go through the full process, I won't feel good about it, and it'll be really it'll be a shame because the town and the community doesn't deserve that. But this is something I just can't rest on. I somewhat apologize for that, and with that, I'll turn it over to my attorney, and I'll be disappear from the process. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So just to put a finer point on a couple of the details, as Mr. Savage represented, the previous assessment on this property was $1,756,600, and that was the assessment, evaluation, appraisal that was taken when the construction was about 80% complete. The current assessment that is under appeal more than doubled, almost tripled, and that's $4,636,900. From a from a strictly legal standpoint, in evaluating what is the proper fair market value of the property, the best metric is gauging what the property could potentially sell for at an arm's length transaction on the open market. That is why we rely specifically and principally on the 839C ministerial road sale that was closed in February of 2025 at a value of $2,400,000. As Mr. Savage already indicated, that property is 17.6 acres. It has over 5,900 square feet of living area, compared to our property at 1872 at just over 2 acres and 4,700 square feet of living area. I also want to point out that over the course of the paper appeals that were previously filed to Ms. Duarte, we received in response 2 denial letters, one from July of 2025 and one from October of 2025. And to further buttress the point that we believe there's some look at comps to justify the value as opposed to comparable properties proper, we received 2 different sets of comps in response to both of those appeals. In July of 2025, we received comps of 1054 Green Hill Beach Road, 37 Coast Guard Avenue, and the Architectural Digest property that Mr. Savage referenced, that's 527 Ministerial Road, which I'll also add, not only is there the principal residence on 527 Ministerial Road, but there is a second home entirely on that property, as well as a barn. And all 3 of those structures contribute to the overall assessed value on that property. Then in October of 2025, the second appeal response, we again received 1054 Green Hill Beach Road as well as 1107 Matunic Beach Road as the 2 comps. And again, as Mr. Savage referenced, these are oceanfront properties, and despite having ocean views, they're still assessed at a lower overall value as compared to 1872 Ministerial Road. Now, to circle back on the request for the current assessment to be reset to the $1.8 million range, that is benchmarked. Our calculation is specifically derived from the assessed value of 839C Ministerial Road, again, the recent sale, and consisting of that assessment, it's presently assessed at $2.7 million, but the breakdown is $1.02 per square foot of land and $336.10 per square foot of livable building area. So those same metrics applied to our property yields a value just over $1.7 million. Are there any questions from the board?
Mr. Bod, I'm going to just pass out a current field card. I don't believe I didn't have one in my packet, so I'm just going to reissue a current updated field card for year-end 12/31/24 to the board and to yourselves.
Thank you, Wendy.
And so the comparables that the assessor provided in the denial letters, those were assessment comparables? Is that these weren't transactional comparables? These were assessment comparables. And the intent was to show that the property was assessed consistently with similar properties, but
I wouldn't say the entire property. When I ran all of the customs in town, there were about 200 of them. It is, I think, as the board has recognized, it's extremely difficult to find a comparable custom comp in particular. So I was really looking at the structure. We can go back and forth between other comps if the board desires to, or the sales that went into the market that led to the increase for customs overall, not just in this appeal.
just to add to that, as we all know, there's no better comp than a recent sale. There's just no better comp than a recent sale. And there's no, when you match, you don't get more apples to apples than that 837C property. It's just, it's, when I found it, I said, I almost couldn't believe it, because having done this for many, many years, you just don't get that perfect match as it appears that we've done now.
Yeah, and I'll just say, generally, from my perspective as well, like the market data is what I find most helpful. So it's hard, even like, I mean, in the case that you make, I think that trying to translate the sale price of that into an indicated value for your property, that's kind of a crude calculation based on the price per square foot of the land. That's, I mean, what's more convincing is typically like an appraisal that considers the features of the subject property. But I appreciate that there is a data point, and because I find that more compelling than, you know, stacks of homes around the community.
And again, just going, better pond, better location on Ministerial Road, 18 acres as opposed to 2.4 acres, more bathrooms, more bedrooms, bigger house, contemporary, custom, beautiful home.
Just as a reminder too, for the reval, sales were 12/31/2024 was the last day for us for our data set. So anything in 2025 wasn't considered in our data set. And in the comps that the appellant provided, there was a market sale. It is 1107 Matunic Beach Road that sold at 8/2/2024 for $3.9 million. Just to be aware for the comp.
And I appreciate that. Again, south of Route 1, oceanfront or ocean view. And most MAI appraisers will consider listing prices and time on market when they do their kind of global. While I agree it didn't close until a month or two later, it had been on the market for quite some time at that 2.4 number that it ultimately sold for, is my recollection.
Just as a point of information, Wendy, how much does the age of the house factor into the value?
It's huge. So for the town's perspective, that comp, I'd have to look real quickly, but the year was 1990, I believe.
1990?
We're talking about 839C Ministerial Road,
No.
correct?
That's 1990?
Bear with me one moment, I got a pile of cards.
I'm looking at your bill.
There is an ML listing that's in your packet as well. I did print that out so you could have that information. Sorry, there's a lot of field cards here. It's crazy. I'll get it.
The 839C is the effective year built of 1990. Yes.
All right, my memory is
So
on
it's
point.
got a 34% depreciation.
Yes, she's correct. Oh, it's
I mean,
in order of the field cards that came with the packet from the attorney. I have a difficult time with the field cards from the Public Vision, so it's the same information, we just printed on a, yeah, they're all side, I don't know what's going on. So there's a separate pile of the field cards. You pick which one you want to look at, it's the same information, but it's in the order that came in through the appellant's packet.
I prefer those versions of the field cards too. I wish those would be more readily accessible to the public. But I will also say, you know, with respects to 839C, yes, it was built in 1990. I have a lot of experience in doing discovery in these types of matters. I've deposed Vision Government Solutions several times, and I know in their formula, their standard depreciation application is 1% per year. But that's also subject to other modifiers, which may or may not exist here that we don't have access to behind Vision's data. But even if there was a 1% deduction per year from 1990 forward, and I think You had mentioned it was referenced on the field card, 34%. The application of that formula does not justify a $2 million plus delta between the value of 839C on the open market compared to 1872 Ministerial Road.
And I will also add to that, while that may be the initial date of construction, we don't know, although if we go further, we'll certainly determine what had been done to the house. I can say that I've looked at maybe 30 or 40 photographs of the house, many of which were the interior, and the fit and the finish and the surfaces look very, very fresh. And the house is a spectacular house based on the photos. And while you can't rely just on the photos, I would urge you to, it's available online, and you'll be able to see what it looks like inside in that house, and it's really very impressive.
Yeah, and that seems to be, I mean, the other, I'm just trying to line up the two and make observations and draw what conclusions I can. They're both comparable. They're both comparable styles per the assessor. I see the grade for the subject is rated as excellent compared to good for 839C Ministerial, which I think that results. So the unit cost, I'm thinking about the structure, the base cost of $626.80 per square foot versus $411 per square foot. So the assessor feels there's a big enough difference in the I guess grade or quality of the homes to warrant such a difference between the one comparable that was brought to our attention here.
I was actually just doing the math. We were thinking the same thing, Mr. Havner. It's at year-end 12/31/2023, if you notice, we had the 85% at a grade 7, and then there was an interior done with the deputy and the deputy building official, I believe, and the grade was changed to a 10. I did not do the interior, however, I was there for a mid-point inspection and was able to see some of the interior. So the swing, just so you know, as I was thinking at the same time as you, if you wanted to know, the difference, let's just say all things being said, same field card, right? So we're looking at the total assessed 4.6. If I changed it to a 7, just so you can see the difference in just changing the grade, it brings the total assessed value to 3.5-ish.
Yeah, it seems like the grade is one of the decisive factors in this. I take the point on depreciation because I notice on the comparable it's got a 34% depreciation. So their calculation essentially assumes no updates to 839C since the mid-90s, which I think is unlikely, although I don't know what evidence we have to the contrary. So it could be that one, I would say that one would then be assessed too low, but it also just sold for several $100,000 less than the assessment. So just trying to reconcile some of the factors that are being raised.
I do want to make just one comment.
Sure.
There was our build process I had mentioned was a very, very difficult build process. The builder I had was somebody that had done a lot of commercial work for us and candidly wasn't equipped to do a house of this type. And there are a lot of rumors that spread around what was happening at the house, how long it was going on. And there was a rumor, we had imported windows for the house from Europe, Polish windows. There was a rumor that had gone around that we'd spent $1 million on the windows. That kind of noise was circulating around, and I suspect that had some significant input into the fit and finish and some of those reports on that. In fact, we spent $72,000 on windows, which was less than the Pella window quote that we had received. And so I just think that as this was all percolating, in fairness, that was the noise and the drumbeat out there, and it just was not accurate. I actually provided to the town, and I want to make sure I quote it properly. I'm 90% sure it was 72,000. It may have been 73,000, but it was less than Pella Window quotes. So exotic is not always more expensive. Not that the purchase price is a factor. It's what's it worth when it's all done.
And I do tend to ask this question in cases of recent construction, and I'll just pose it to you, and you can answer as you wish. But I mean, the assessor essentially is saying it's a replacement cost of $4.2 million for the structure, and sometimes people present evidence to us that the property only cost X to construct to support their case, and I don't know if you have any commentary on what the actual construction costs
Sure,
were.
I do have commentary on the value of the replacement cost. I don't know if any of you have been following what's happening in the insurance industry, but in the high-end insurance industry, Fireman's Fund and Chubb and some of the other higher-end insurers for custom properties, they're no longer raising their rates. What they're doing is they're coming in and they're sending teams of inspectors to custom properties, and they're changing and elevating the replacement cost. And by elevating the price of the replacement cost, it justifies them charging more for their annual premiums. In this case, the house was inspected, and I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was very significantly less than the assessed price. I want to say it was in the high 2 millions. It may have been in the low 3 millions. And I will tell you from experience, and I could cite 5 or 6 other properties that I've been involved with these insurance companies doing that, Chubb in particular, that they tend to be 50 or 60% higher than what reality is. But that's how they're bringing up their rates, and I'm not commenting negatively on that. It's their business model, and they've had some huge losses on many of the custom properties, California and otherwise, and that's how they've chosen to do it. So when that came in, it really reinforced to me how erroneous this evaluation was.
Other questions, comments from board members? You gentlemen may not know this, but I am a custom builder. I do a lot of, high-end homes very similar to this and even larger. I mean, and I'm just looking at the square foot cost to build places right now. I mean, everything I'm doing is at least $600 a square foot, just as an FYI. So, I mean, I see this $800 as being quite high per square foot, or $883. I see these other numbers here. I think they're they're very somewhat conservative. Maybe some of these other numbers per square foot. So I don't my personal opinion on this, based on my experience, is $800 way off. I don't think it really is way off. However, there's a lot of other factors here that we have to consider also. So I'm not disputing anything that's been presented today. I think you guys have done a really nice job. I guess my only question would be, was there any reason that you decided not to try to get an appraisal from an independent, appraiser?
Candidly, I was hoping that we'd be able to resolve this in a more informal manner. I will tell you that the reason I'm not here alone is I think that there's a significant likelihood that we're going to have to really gear up for that. I would be personally very disappointed by that. It has nothing to do with the finances of doing that. It's just kind of how I feel about the town and process and all of that. But we're certainly committed to do that. And if we go that route, it will be, I don't want to say I don't care about the expense of it. I really care about the principle of it. And fortunately, I can not care so much about the cost of it. And so why haven't we done that? It's because when we do it, we really want to do it right and robust, and maybe not one, but maybe two, and it'll be really a comprehensive process, not something that I wanted to do at this stage. One other thing I want to point out about this house, and I don't know if it affects value, but I think it goes, Mr. Bud, to what you were saying about cost per square foot. Two of the rooms in the house that were listed as bedrooms are on, if you look at the picture of the house, you can see these, it was designed as a one-story house with kind of two A-frames connected by a room. The one on the northerly side of the house has mechanicals up there. There's no space up there. You reach it by a pull-down attic stair. The one on the left, as we were building the house, said, maybe we could utilize that for other space. And so my wife put a small yoga space up there and an office on the easterly side of the house and a little yoga space on the westerly side of the house. That's all included in the square footage of the house, but it is not functional use. One I think they actually considered as a bedroom. Downstairs, we have our bedroom on the northerly side of the house, and on the southerly side of the house there is a guest bedroom. And next to the guest bedroom is literally a train room. My wife wanted a couple of bunk beds for the grandkids. And so we have two bunk beds that if you were to lay in one and lay in the other, not that any of us could fit because they're short, you could actually hold out your hand, and that's how narrow that room is. So nobody would consider that a bedroom. And then the other thing, to answer the question on the square footage, is we have a room over the garage that I use as my office. And there is, the only place you can stand up there is in the middle. It has eaves if you look at some of the pictures above the garage, you'll see what I'm talking about. So that was included in both of those areas were included in the square footage, but it's not, I mean, I like the space, but it's not what you'd consider, not even, in my opinion, $600 a square foot space for that. But
So just so I'm clear, so we got 4,772 square feet, and that's actual heated conditioned space. Is that correct, Mr. Savage?
I don't know, I don't want to misquote but I can tell you that all of the spaces I just mentioned are heated spaces. But I don't know the exact square footages.
And if I may, very briefly, just on the piece related to an appraisal, here we have appealed this based upon a disproportionate assessment as well as an overvaluation. I would suggest that in this specific instance, there's little more that an appraisal would say as compared to the sale that we referenced, although it came after 12/31 of 2024, but shortly after. And additionally, when we evaluate the percentage increase that came to this property as compared to the comparables that we've identified, the average increase across the comparables was only 59%. Our property, the tax increase was 263.97%. So that's another reason for which I did not find here as counsel an appraisal to be necessary.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, questions from the board members? Okay, gentlemen, so what we're going to do, I don't know, I'm not sure if you're aware of how we proceed here, but we are going to hear other folks here, and then we're going to stay here till probably about 12:30 today, and we're going to discuss this will be an open meeting, of course, and anybody that wants to stay, they can stay here if you'd like, and we'll discuss this after we've heard all of our appellants here today. So we plan to be here till probably around 12:30-ish. We don't usually go much past that. And if we can't get through everybody's, presentation, then we'll just have to put them off to the next meeting, but you gentlemen are first. So I'm sure we'll be talking about your property here, Mr. Savage, today.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have to get to another commitment. Please don't view that as disrespect, that I need to go. I didn't know that was the process, otherwise I would have rescheduled. And I just want to thank you for the time you put in and the volunteer time and letting us have our opportunity to be heard and put the ball back in the town's court. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and I do want to apologize to you and everybody else out there today that I had a situation and I was late today, so hopefully that won't happen again. That's a first, so.
No, well, thank you for making it. I appreciate that.
Okay, the next appeal is number 88. Erin Finn. Is somebody here representing Mr. or the Finns? Yes. You don't have to move very far, right?
I hope I wasn't being presumptuous by staying seated, but I looked at the agenda earlier. Good morning again, Joe Carnevale of Savage Law Partners. I represent Erin Finn, the property owner for 100 Blackberry Hill Drive. So what is before you, just by way of history, the prior assessment, the value on this property was $1,643,400. The current assessment is $1,103,400. I'm sorry. I was up here for a while. I haven't had coffee in between both of these. My apologies. We have raised this appeal for three reasons. An alleged overvaluation, a disproportionate assessment, and the incorrect usage of the custom classification. Now, by way of history, and I'm sure it's in the packets before you, there was a previously existing house on the property. It was torn down, new construction home. That is the subject of what we are talking about today. There are a few issues that I want to point out first with respect to the square footage. The property card has this at 4,202 square feet, and that is based on the building plans that were submitted with the building permits to the town. My client earlier, which, and by the way, I apologize that she is not here today. She is in South Carolina doing something with her son at his college. And I've already continued this a couple of times, but I just wanted to have it proceed. But with respect to the property, earlier in the process, my client did do a walkthrough of the home with the Vision Government Appraisal representative. She also did the informal appeal with Vision at the town hall. I think those might have been back in June or July. Forgive me if I'm misstating. But there's on the property card, there's a 434 square foot space identified as the upper story finished. That square footage is in fact not finished, and the Vision Government Solutions representative did acknowledge that both at the walkthrough of the property and at the informal meeting that they had. So that would accordingly reduce the finished square footage of the livable building area to about 3,800 square feet. I would also suggest that the classification of custom on this home has perhaps been misapplied. Mr. Bowd, as a fine builder yourself, the architectural details matter a lot on properties such as this or those that are applied with the custom classification. Obviously, there's a higher value associated. This property does not have custom fine architectural details or much of anything. It's custom in the sense of its shape. And as we look through the comps that we had looked at and provided in our spreadsheet in the public version of the property cards, it seems that on Vision's end, the application of custom or modern contemporary or anything else is really just kind of almost a situation, if you see it, you know it, right? Or you think you know it. If we look through the list, you'll see 20 Bass Road. This is listed as a colonial, and this property, forgive me, I just have to flip to it. This property was built in 1932. If you look at the picture that's on the property card, there's not much left colonial about that. So while it might have been a colonial at one point in time, it's certainly not a colonial in this day and age. If you look at 40 Summer Street, again, it's listed as a colonial. It's built originally in 1932, but that with the various additions or modifications that have been made over almost 100 years, certainly still does not fit the colonial model. 231 Carpenter, that was built in 1940, that's classified as a cape. That also, with the additional additions and whatnot, that's perhaps not a cape today. So all of this, and there's a few more that are listed throughout, but all that's to say that we feel here that the custom, quote unquote, marker that has been applied to Ms. Finn's property really effectively does nothing more than bill it at a higher appraisal rate. On file with the town, the building permit applications, the cost to build this home was $1.5 million. And accordingly, in light of the comparables that we've identified, the prior assessment, recognizing the average assessment increase that has gone on or been applied to those comparables, that is what supports and what we're seeking for a revised valuation of $1,907,200. And with that, I can entertain any questions that I hopefully can answer.
Comments, questions from the board?
So on the spreadsheet, are these properties, were they selected because they're from kind of the neighborhood? I'm just curious what the selection process was for this.
The selection process, square footage, lot size, but focused more on the square footage of the livable building area and geographic proximity. As close as we could, obviously, especially with this being a technically new construction in the associated value in that surrounding area, immediately surrounding vicinity. There aren't as many houses in that price range as in other parts of the community, so we had to branch out a little bit further, just gradually increasing the size of the circle.
Have you visited the property?
I'm sorry?
Have you been at the property?
I've done a drive-by. I have not been inside the house myself.
Looking at the information we have here from the town, I don't see anything on here about water view.
Correct. There is no water view.
Okay, I'm familiar with the area
Is there a water view?
because it is somewhat on a hill.
I'm not sure, so I didn't go in the backyard or anything. I'm not sure with respect to any trees or anything like that, if there is an
It's on
obstruction.
a corner. Is that correct?
Yeah.
If you look at the screens, also for the audience here, the parcel is highlighted.
Yeah.
It's the parcel, it's the,
Yeah, so 86-3, Lot 5, so if you see here, and I'm just zooming out just so you can kind of proximity to where it sits in the town.
that is a good size elevation at that point,
Okay.
which being on the corner, I don't think you have any kind of trees that are obstructing the view. I just feel as though that would factor into the value of the property.
I've got obliques here on Eagle View, and you can see the slope here on the back of the elevation. I can spin it around as much as you'd like. You tell me.
Well, I'm very familiar with the neighborhood.
Okay.
It's a nice neighborhood.
Very nice neighborhood. And I believe there would be a view from there, because I've sold houses very close to it.
I mean, I guess I'll wait a little bit into the question of the home classification, which doesn't usually leave me feeling like I've resolved the issue. I mean, does Vision typically, will they apply custom as a classification typically to new construction, and then older homes are classified as colonial and not revised to custom, even if the style is different. I can't wrap my head around what Vision's doing with these classifications, and they have such a magnitude of impact on the assessed values, and we can't resolve them. And the issue that I have also, it probably speaks to disproportionate. The argument for disproportionate is that we get a pile of information, and we can't tell which should be accurate. It could be that all of the comparables are classified incorrectly. So it's very hard when it's all relative for us to start making changes, because we make this change and now 30 people come back next time using this as a comparable. And that's not the fault of the homeowner, but it kind of goes together with us trying to make decisions where there's like relative data presented and we can't identify what the discrepancies are. The same thing goes for assessment increase ratios for us. It's like where is that, how can we get to the bottom of where where that change, those changes come from, or what the root issue is. Like it's hard for us to pin down at this table in this case. So I mean, those are just like some comments, but feel free to like give me some, either because I was both directed at the assessor and the applicant, but it's some of my what I can't wrap my head around is that's where I'm at, and that deals with the methodology, but it also deals with the appeal.
So I can, believe me, I can talk for hours on a soapbox about my issues with Vision and the way they do their statistical reevals, and not just this community, but every community. What I can offer you, and again, I'm not submitting this as any form of evidence, but just maybe some helpful context. I'm in the middle of a deposition of a Vision Government Solutions project manager that she was involved in the Portsmouth revaluation from, I think it was 4 years ago now. That line of questioning did come up. How do you determine, because it's Vision that applies those codes at the end of the day, how do you determine what is what? And that's where I kind of pulled my quote from, because the answer was essentially our analysts, they do drive-bys and they kind of know it if they see it. They know what a colonial looks like. They know what a cape looks like. Anything that's not in that bucket of what meets that individual person's eye when they drive by, you get custom, or you get architectural contemporary, which I have seen in my experience. And again, I'm not submitting it as any persuasion, but just for context here. But I have seen in multiple other communities that for the past few years, the code du jour, if you will, if it's something new that they haven't seen before, they just put custom on it. In here, even if I look, I was looking last night, how do you define what a colonial is? And most searches told me, and I'm not going to counter anything that Mr. Bowd says, he has much more expertise, but it's something with center front door, symmetrical, multiple floors, right? If you look at my client's house, if you just take a general version of that definition that I found last night, it's got a center front door, it's symmetrical on both sides with both peaks, but I'm not arguing today that that's a colonial, but when you look at one definition of what a colonial can be, that could classify. So it really is, at the end of the day, I think, and I believe, just arbitrary classifications that are put on by Vision, which, again, to your point, Mr. Hefner, that makes your lives more difficult, it makes the assessor's lives more difficult, it makes property owners in my life more difficult, because it's impossible to navigate.
I also have a question on the grade that is assigned to the property. Is there a specific grade for new construction? I believe I've seen good 10, I've seen good 20.
It's what's observed when there's a site visit for materials and quality. Craftsmanship. And just to speak about the style, I would argue it's not arbitrary, it's definitely discretionary. And I live in that world of gray. There's many different shades of it. So without getting too far down that rabbit hole with this particular subject, I've been there twice, Vision's been there, our deputy, our building officials. So this one in particular, there's not one custom home for this particular reval that I didn't put my hands on. Now, I couldn't possibly in a statistical put my hands on a cape and say, is that a cape? Wait, is that a custom? Right, so that, there's a time and a place for that, and unfortunately, it's a full reval, and we still have one more statistical ahead of us before we get down there. So we gotta live in a snapshot in time, and that's what we're here today to do. So, to argue during the reval, the values that are set and the styles for customs, I'm not gonna pivot to vision because they were my final values and they were my final call on the style. So that's why we're here today, to determine, not arbitrarily but discretionary, if that's appropriate or not. And you, like you said, I could also do this all day long talking about styles. So it's a tough hat to wear for everyone involved, you know, on both sides of the coin. So we can have that discussion. I'd be more than willing to let you know how that we got to the custom based on their meaning vision, their definition, and why we don't think it's a cape. But you tell me when it comes down to decision-making time, okay? So to answer the question, no, not all new construction is custom, and no, not all new construction is a standard grade. I know that's not a very good answer.
No,
but it depends. It's really,
come up before.
We've got mass appraisal, but in mass appraisal, when we're doing, you know, we're on one site visit, we're looking at that particular, you know, property individually, but then you've got the mass appraisal umbrella when it comes to the reval, so it's tough.
Yeah, I'm trying, because it's come up a few times, and I'm just trying to learn for this case and for what we might have to, other cases we have to decide is where it comes down. What is the assessor and the assessment company trying to capture with these various dials that they're kind of turning on a property?
Mr. Cornwell, you are correct. That is exactly what vision data staff have said. You know, we know what we're looking at. I don't like that either. I know what we're looking at with this. Okay.
No, we had, I mean, the last meeting, we had a particularly, to me, I'm just, in my opinion, a particularly egregious example where there were two homes across the street that were, like, to me, the only distinguishing factor between them was that they were renovated properties and then the subject was new. And so I wonder, this is me just talking aloud, trying to analyze what the methodology is, but it seems like custom is applied to new construction more than renovated homes. And I question, are they trying to capture something about the physical effective age? Are they trying to capture something about the value of new construction versus, you know, renovated homes? Are they trying to capture something, you know, like, I don't know what premium that they're like chasing. And
they're not chasing. It's whatever the building plans or the builder. I mean, you can take it from here if you'd like, if you want to input. But our deputy goes through, you know, what permit, what are they doing, right? Is it a demo? Is it not a demo? Is it a new build? Is there an existing foundation? It's very complex, but that's all that's happening. So for me to really sign off on a custom, yes, there's architectural fee, but there's building quality, there's craftsmanship, there's other things. So if you have a custom builder and a custom plan, and maybe the custom spectrum is wide, right? Because you could say anything's a custom. Okay, I have a Cape plan and I want to modify it. Does that make it a custom? Right? Or is it retrofitted because I have a certain disability and now I've retrofitted my whole house to accommodate that? Is that a custom? Right? So those are all questions, and they all live on the floor today.
Right, and I think, yeah, so it's somewhere between arbitrary and discretionary or subjective, and we are kind of faced with trying to make a decision in that terrain.
It's hard. I would just say that when we give it that distinction, it's not just one thing. Like, it's not just the physical, like, exterior, right? It's an interior inspection. It's a plan inspection. It's like, I'm not just, like, you know, randomly throwing these things out there. You know what I mean? And the town has changed in the past 10 years, and there are a lot more custom builders building custom houses. It's not just, you know, the town is on two fields, right? We're doing all the affordables, we're working on that end of you know, building, and then we have these properties that are, you know, are very nice, and people are willing to, you know, suit their needs. I mean, we use this custom descriptor that we get from Vision. It's a little vague, you know, so we try to not look at just one thing. We try to take in the
Yes.
whole property so that we're not arbitrarily just throwing that out there.
And that is kind of helpful, because I do think part of the challenge in mass appraisal is trying to, like, you're dealing with a massive data set, but we do have this group of property types where there's, especially when it's new, I suspect when it's new construction, but it's new construction that's built at a very high, you know, price per square foot relative to other, you know, homes in the area. And I can see the challenges in isolating that and trying to apply it to, you know, to properties.
And in the time
community.
I've been here, and I probably could speak for you as well, in the last 6 years, Vision's not putting customs on our books. During the hearings, they were moving them to something else that they deemed appropriate, and we were reversing them back to customs. So I don't want to play devil's advocate for
Yeah.
Vision government, but I really couldn't blame them. Now, there's some existing on the books, not sure if that was a Vision assessor, you know, we'll figure that one out leading up to the fold, but I can say in my experience here for the town, the customs are looked at way more with a fine-tooth comb than
Right.
any other one.
But it seems to say something, and I'm sorry to belabor the point, but it's like your grade rating is just not enough to account for these properties. And so that's why we need the style listing on top of it. And that's hard for us, like the layers is hard for us to I guess, to figure out. And I'm not,
And I think you've
I'm not an
managed
assessor
it.
by trade, so this is like where I, you know. I'm-
And the board's managed it with like the year of construction. I think mainly that's probably your best tool with getting there with what you deem. I mean, I'm not going to get in the middle of due process. It's between the appellant and the board. But just to understanding and answer your questions as to like what we did so that you can decide
Yeah, we can-
where you want to go.
And we can discuss further in the decisioning. And thank you for your forbearance as I kind of go down this rabbit hole with the assessor trying to understand. So,
No problem, and I remember from January's hearing that that's an important issue, and it's come up on others. And I just to be clear, and I can leave with this because I know I've taken more than 10 minutes, and I apologize for that. You know, my only point with respect to the usage classification, again, I'm not sitting here today necessarily saying that colonial should be applied as the style to this particular house. But when we evaluate against the comps, the ones that we pulled as well, I raise that because we have other classifications in there, right? You'll see the colonials, you'll see the capes. And my only point is, and again, not a knock on Wendy whatsoever. And in fact, I deal with a lot of tax assessors, and Wendy is my favorite that I deal with. She's the most available and most amenable and most responsive and most knowledgeable, I would suggest. But when the appeal first goes to Wendy and she pulls comps out of the town system, we go by classification code, so just the custom classifications that it's benchmarked against. And I would suggest that to properly benchmark and evaluate this particular property and any others, in fact, against the actual comps, we have to go a little bit deeper than just the initial classification codes that get set back, because sometimes they're outdated, sometimes they need to be adjusted, and, you know, like the ones I have here, you know, a couple of them are 90 years old. We would still suggest that they're perfectly fair comps, not too far away in the neighborhood, same neighborhood classification, same size of house, but just stylistically, you know, there's obviously a premium that's attached to the custom in the more non-traditional classifications. So with that, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Unless you have any other questions, I don't mean to cut you short.
Also, any other questions from board members? Nothing simple. That's my only comment. Thank you, Mr. Carnavale. Next appeal number is 90. Norma Rolke, I believe is the name.
Chairman Bod, just to call attention, Mrs. Roki won't be in attendance, and she's being represented by Patrice Fenton. And I did receive on Thursday, February 5th, unfortunately I was ill last week, I wasn't in Thursday, Friday, so I apologize, it didn't make it into your packets, but there's something that she would like read into record. Are you reading that as well for her?
Excuse me, Patrice, you're probably better off sitting at the table there, and there's a,
It's up to,
oh, you can sit there, okay, all right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And Norma's a friend of mine. I'm here for her because she fell and broke her hip. Otherwise, she would be here herself. She has come before you looking for 10 Sandpiper Lane, looking for a drop in her assessment. And one of the main reasons is because the town is not taking care of the road anymore. So the town council voted on January 2nd, 2023 to stop plowing and maintaining, repairing the road. Any service that they had been provided, that service had been provided for the last 70 years by the town, according to her. And the road is sand and gravel. So this year alone, they've spent over $4,500 just to take care of the gravel on the road. They've been, of course, right now doing a lot of plowing on the road. Those bills haven't come in. So what she wanted to add was, I would like to add that I get no service from the town. I pay a water bill and a fire district tax bill. Although I've owned homes in South Kingstown since 2009, I am not considered a resident. My home, however, is a full-time residence and as such pays taxes for a full year. That is clearly taxation without representation. The town could amend its voting rules to include people like me. Other towns and states have. My mortgage company made a requirement when I got the mortgage that there was an agreement in place about the roads. They also required flood insurance because of the location of my home in a flood zone. The fact that I am in a flood zone means degradation of my property continues. My homeowner's insurance will not cover damages to the road because I do not own the road. It will continue to cost me extra money to take care of the road. I assume that could be an issue for anyone buying my home. That reduces my home to a summer residence with a big tax charge and roads that are often impassable with no surfaces from the town. In 2022, my tax assessment was lowered by $44,000 because of the conditions of the roads, and that was while the town still was responsible for them.
Other comments, Patrice, at this
Any
time?
questions for me?
Questions, comments? Alice or Brad?
So what, the one thing she wanted to ask me is when she'd know about her outcome, but you said before that would be either by the end of the day today or at which time you get together to talk about it if there's not time today, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
She also wants to know is if there's anything else she can get together, if there's more information you need.
At this point, I don't have any,
I think,
I think we have everything that we need here in the packet.
Okay, I will read, can I read one other thing she gave me? I think you have it in your package.
Yes.
10 Sandpiper was built in 1974. It only has 120 amp wiring, which cannot be added to. There's only one exit from the home. There are 2 baths. The first is the original from 1974, and the second is off the kitchen, between the kitchen and the room with hot water heater, furnace, and water turnoff. Upgrading would be very costly. The house is probably a tear down. 2/3 of the land is wetlands and cannot be built on because of CRMC restricts it. Could only be added onto one side, and it would require a new expensive septic system. Additionally, again, the town has taken away its responsibility for plowing and grading. That adds the financial burden to her. And she feels her land assessment should be reduced to reflect this.
Do you have a copy of that? Patrice? Was that submitted to the?
I did find it in our,
It's in
It
your.
is in our
we
packet?
have it in our packet, so that's a couple of other, I guess, basis for appeal.
Since she wasn't going to be here, she just wanted to make sure I said everything she wanted me to say.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, what is this? What is the status of the road situation in the neighborhood currently?
Currently, no
It's
one.
just, is it being allowed to degrade because of this dispute between the time? Like,
It's
I
not
hate to
being
ask a naive
allowed. It
question.
has to do with the extra cost to her and the other homeowners, but the extra cost to her. She's elderly. You know, she didn't expect this, and now it's costing, you know, her probably an extra $4,000 a year if everyone else will split the cost as well. I'm not exactly sure how much extra it's costing her a year, but I'm guessing if just one time the road got new gravel put, that $46,000 was just the cost of gravel, not the cost of maintaining it, not the cost of putting it down. That was all done by other people. And then you bring into it a winter like we've had now with the snow and everything, and I know how much it costs to plow my driveway, and it's not very long. And so then you're talking about a road, you're talking about what plows do to a road, you're talking about the safety, you know, they have to keep it in good shape so that the town can get in for their water pipes, and also if an ambulance needs to get in there. So the cost, it's a cost she didn't expect, and it's a lot more money than she thought. And and as the town, you know, you got rid of those plowing those private roads, which historically you had. And she didn't expect it because historically it happened.
Do you know if those that are on Sandpiper have formed any kind of an organization or agreement for the cost of the road?
I think they're working on a lot of things regarding that. I don't know how, but I mean, they talk to each other, so they're trying to work together, and some, you know how that goes, some are interested, some aren't interested, you know, it's one of those.
Curious if there's been any recent, just in terms of impact on market value, there have been recent sales in the neighborhood or attempts to sell properties where it would show the potential for detrimental impact due to the road conditions and just the whole situation. I don't know. I'd just be curious, how's it actually playing out in the market?
You
the
know,
impact of these.
that's an interesting question. There's one right now on Shadberry, which is another road that's impacted by it. It's on the market right now for $850,000, and it hasn't sold yet. And, you know, the other thing is, you know, is telling people it will impact value. Because unless there's good road maintenance contracts in place, and there's also lawsuits involving the town and some of the associations, from my understanding, so that will impact value, just that alone.
It also impacts the ability to get a mortgage.
Right, that's a big one, thank you, yeah.
There was a previous reduction in the assessment. I don't know if the assessor's office has any information on that. Was that us or was that your office? Yeah, and that's maybe a question for them, but I'd be curious to know more about what happened back in 2022 that precipitated a reduction.
I don't have the answer to that question.
I'm taking a peek at that right now.
It looks like on the field card it says hearing change, but that could have been a hearing change with vision usually. Is that, okay, so they spoke with vision in looks like March of 2022.
So that previous assessed value, if you look at the field card, under previous assessments for year 2023, that total value, that 811,800, is from the last full reval. So that was that value was on the books for that cycle for the 3 years. So the increase from 811,800 to 949,100 is the statistical increase. Specifically, the land. The house went from 246 to 261, but the land went up more.
And all those, it says it's waterfront on Teal Pond, not on Green Hill Pond, FYI.
Is Teal Pond that can be for swimming or boating?
No, it's the little pond off of Sand Sprite. It comes off of Matunic Schoolhouse Road.
Does it have access to the ocean?
Through the Association of Mawtucket by the Sea.
I have the parcel up for review.
A lot of that is wetlands, again, 2/3.
So the subject is the small one
Small
highlighting
one,
there.
yeah.
Could you zoom in on that actually? Because that's I'd forgotten, because you did read out the, she does discuss that.
It does appear that you
That's-
couldn't take a boat from that waterfront.
No,
out to-
it's,
There's some sort of a barrier.
you could walk out, pick it up, and put it on the other side.
No, it's a very irregular shaped lot.
I'm just pulling it up in the Eagle View software as well, so you can see proximity, and we can do aerial obliques as well.
Just a question to Patrice. How many houses are on Sandpiper roughly on that? I guess it's a private right-of-way at this point. It's always been,
I
but the
would
town
say,
had
I would
maintained
say
it.
probably 8. And
Okay.
from my understanding, and I don't know if this is true, the town maintained it because their water lines were there. But I don't know that that's true or not.
I don't know either. I know,
But as long as I've lived in the area, which is 40 years, they've maintained that road. So when you buy something like that, I guess you expect that to continue, and what she expected didn't happen, and it costs her a lot of money. And that's her grounds for wanting her assessment reduced.
when you say maintain, like I have a situation where I live where the town used to plow a side road near our house, and they don't do that anymore. But they never maintained the road, like we had the road or the right-of-way asphalted, myself and a neighbor, but they always plowed the road until, several years ago when the town decided they didn't want to plow any more of the road. So I guess my question to you, if you know this, is did the town actually maintain the road and like scrape it and fill in like potholes and
Yes.
things like that? Or was it just being plowed? Okay,
They maintained it.
okay. Other questions, comments?
Well, thank you very much for hearing Norma's request.
Thank you. Appeal number 98, and that's being moved to the next meeting, correct, Wendy?
That is correct. I'm just going to hand this down. And you can read this into the record if you'd like.
Okay. Appeal number 98. Elizabeth Sang, Linda Burzon, Appeal 90, let's see, this came from Elizabeth Sang, I guess. Oh, yeah, okay, I got it, okay, Liz, all right, yeah, got it, okay. Yes, Yes, I got it, okay. Linda Burzin, appeal number 98, will not able to attend tomorrow's meeting. She had a mail delay and did not get her notification with enough time to prepare. She is requesting this item to be rescheduled. And this is 86-3/42, 51 Osprey Road. I guess we need to make a motion. I'll make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? And you folks will figure out when we're going to schedule this, correct? And I'll just leave that as part of the motion for that meeting to be determined. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Well, we do have a second. Yeah, okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Next item under new business is number 104, Hess. Is there somebody here for the Hess property? Would you like to present, if you could state your name for the record, please, and if you want to discuss this or make your presentation to the board, that would be appreciated, and there's a button on the right side there that you have to press before you speak into the microphone.
Okay. Bert Hess, 59 Rosebriar Avenue. And I've been a resident for over 20 years. And actually, I'm not particularly looking for anything for my property. I'm more concerned with how Vision handles some of the properties in my neighborhood, which is Green Hill. In particular, there's one property that is a boat launch area. And it's for the Green Hill Beach Association, Civic Association. And what I'm questioning is this a very unusually low assessment for this property? And I was hoping we can get some answers as to why where I'm helping subsidize, I guess you might say, an assessment in an area that is on the pond, Green Hill Pond, and apparently waterfront is waterfront, whether it's the ocean or whether it's a pond. In this case, everybody on the pond, their land assessment is over $1 million. And in this case, this property is assessed at just under $70,000. Now, this property has never been sold, or it was donated to the association probably some 50 years ago, or even longer, as long as the association exists. The association dissolves, the property goes back to the donor. In the meantime, the Civic Association is now in the process, I believe, of wanting to have a dock permit and install a dock. They've already improved the property with kayak racks.
I have a question of the appraiser, of the assessor. This, in my mind, is an unimproved lot. Is there a vast difference between assessments of an unimproved parcel of land and one that has a home on it?
There is a structure, or what we call it assessor world, an improvement on the parcel. If you look up at the screen, that is the structure. Year built 2002. We have an effective year built to 2003 because there were some improvements. We've got some permits in the year 2000. A shed, demolish a cottage. I actually don't know what that says. Building, general, it's DWO.
Dwelling, building dwelling.
Building dwelling, okay. And it looks like over time in 2003, it looks like there's a note here that the board reduced the C factor, is what we call it, the condition factor. So on the landline, that was probably, I'd have to go back and see what it was then. But I think we've talked about your baseline, lot is always going to be a condition factor of 1.00 if there's no other thing happening, if you, in this case, there's a reduction that looks like the board brought it to 0.90 due to it being wetland. There's low wetlands to the rear of the property, which you can see from the visual there. And it looks like in 2009, it was reduced the grade and corrected their elevator count. I'm not sure, maybe we had 2 elevators at one time. So it looks like there's been multiple changes, and that leads us
I
here
remember the elevator
today.
one. That was,
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
was being assessed for, I think, a multi-floor, it was like a 3-floor elevator when
Yeah.
the build of the home itself wasn't even.
I remember this very well, too. So we've got it at a grade 4 right now. Whether I think that it is a 4, I mean, at this point, we live with the reduction, and I think I've mentioned, during statisticals, we have our reval cycle. You have the ability to take a look at it and decide if that's still the case. We didn't touch this for the statistical, so that's where we're at today.
Okay, well, let's clarify this. I'm not here to get a reduction, particularly on my home. I'm questioning the properties that surround me, and in particular on Green Hill Beach Road, that the only properties that are even vacant at this time, I think probably a lot or two that's assessed in the 300s and would probably sell if they had a buyer, and they probably could have one. And here sits this particular property, and I'm asking why the assessment is so low. I don't think it's fair and equitable to myself or my neighbors.
I'm trying to find this in our materials, but I don't know if we have a field card for that one. But
For which property? You should definitely have the subject in there, and it looks like,
I believe, is it?
I usually print out field cards for comps that the appellant does provide, although I'm not sure we'll be able to accommodate that in the future. But I can pull up the.
No, that's okay.
I can pull up the cards on
No,
the
because
visual.
now I
for
have
you.
a similar question. Like the one it's just, I believe it's 96-1-104 we're kind of focusing on. I don't have that one at my fingertips, so I can't even consult it to.
I'm sorry, which one was that, Brad? Which one? We can print it right now if you'd like.
The PID.
There was a comp provided to Mr. Hess, and I believe you do have it. The town looked at a modern contemporary with a grade 4 in the same neighborhood, and the closest neighborhood comp that I could find was at 63 Rosebriar. And that is also a modern contemporary. That is also an average 4, and it was built in 2001. And the building value's got a depreciation of 22%. The subject's 21%. Subject's got more square footage, 2,826. Rosebriar 63 is 1,856. So the square footage comes into play, but the building value new for 63 Rosebriar is 435,848. Just to put things in perspective a little bit, but I can dig as much as you'd like us to.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, I don't know that we're empowered to change the assessment on another property that's not the subject of the appeal. So that's like one issue that we won't be able to, but
Well, how
because
do we handle that? Who,
because because it's being asked, and I think the property, if there's one property, it's the Green Hill Civic Association property, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Actually, there's two properties, but I'm only addressing the one today, and that's the boat launch. There's also the tennis court, which is also unusually
I mean,
low.
while we're here, and while we have the applicant here, my hope was maybe we could pull up that property that was mentioned in both of his communications to see if there was a quick and easy explanation for why the assessment is low, even though we're not going to be able to act on that necessarily, but, you know, since we have the full force of
When
all
we
of
get
our...
to decision-making, we can discuss what needs to happen. I've got
Okay.
an idea or two.
All right.
I think that, so this particular lot, am I hearing that has not been declared unbuildable? Isn't there a category unbuildable?
Are we talking about the subject at 59 Rosebriar Avenue? Which lot are we talking about?
No, we're talking about the boat launch.
The boat launch?
I would need research.
PID
I'm not a fan of doing it on the fly either.
12733, which is developable. It's so noted, it's waterfront.
It's a large enough lot with
It's large
enough dry land.
And next door was developed and was sold probably in the $500,000 range as raw land before it was actually built 4 years ago.
Okay, so it is
in
a-
a very difficult site that the town actually gave a waiver as to how close to the pond you could be, which was then part of the assent, I believe. So this property is definitely developable.
Okay, it hasn't gone through CRMC though.
I have to do research. We would have to give me a homework assignment on this one.
With all due respect, Mr. Hess, I mean, we have an agenda here today, and, you know, I understand what you're saying and what you're presenting, but it's not on our agenda, and quite frankly, I don't think we should be really digging into this today or discussing it. I mean, if the board wants to just have a comment from staff about a question that you might have, that I would support that, but if this is gonna get complicated here and take up some time, we really can't do this, because we can't make a decision on this. It's
No,
not part of our package here. And, you know, and there's a due process here of notifications and putting this agenda together before prior to this meeting. So this is something that, quite frankly, I'm not really comfortable discussing.
Okay, what is the process?
I would like to make a suggestion. Again, I don't want to hinder due process, because at this point, you've kind of like bypassed assessor world, and now you're in board world, but this isn't their purview. So what I would suggest is we will work with you on all the answers as to why this is. We've done it before. You can make a motion to work with the assessors and get you the information that you need, and use that venue, or it can be applied through this process. I'll leave the decision up to the board.
Can I ask a question regarding a lot of these, like the Green Hill Civic Association, the Green Hill Acres Beach Club, the Pawtucket or By the Sea. Now, they are all getting a discount or some other reason is there a formal discount that's given or percentage?
Again, I would have to do the research individually on the historic nature of each of those parcels, but at the same time, it's not necessarily the hat that I wear for the town to do book reports for people. I guess that's how, it's like when you go to the library, they don't write the report for you, they just show you where to get the information. But we do more than we usually should, and I'm willing to do that with you, Mr. Hess, to get the answers with you if you're willing to work with us. But
absolutely.
I would say priority, I know it's 100% priority for you, but if you give us patience with a lot of the things that are high pressing right now so that we can certify our role, we're in busy season right now. It's a little outside of the scope of some of the work that we've got to do, but I'm willing to make time and have an appointment with you and
Okay.
and
Would you-
and and
should I
and
make an
piecemeal.
appointment
You
with you?
absolutely can, and I
Okay.
recommend that you do, because I don't know the answers to those, and I am a why kid. I'd like to know why. I'm sure there are answers. I don't like to shoot from the hip on the fly without doing research. So I'm assuming, and I think I may be correct that what you're saying that there are reductions for certain. I'm sure that's the case.
And
But
I'm trying to
Yeah,
increase the
and I can
grand
show you
list and
exactly
reduce
how- yeah,
taxes, actually.
you'll
so-
come in our office, and you're going to be a pro by the time you're done.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, Mr. Hess, what's presented before us today, you're okay with everything the way it is, and you're not making
With
any...
my home, yes.
Okay, all right. So we need a motion here, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll just handle it when we start discussing everything else, okay?
At this point, you can close your new business and move to old.
Okay,
Yeah, I make a motion to close new business and proceed to the items on old business.
okay, we have a motion on the floor to close the public hearing on new business. Do we have do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All right, it is, so I'd like to take a short recess here. And before we do that, just to be clear, why don't we go through, we're gonna start discussing new business here. Or do we,
Mr. Bod, just one thing, before you break for old business, appeal number 32, 33, and 34 are not present, and you don't necessarily have to discuss that today for, if you're crunched for time. We do still have the attorney here for appeal number 89. You can do what you'd like, but you may want to just leave those for now, and I'm assuming at the next meeting, the appellant will be able to be present for those.
Which one is that, actually? That's the three properties with the...
Appeal, yes, the first three appeals for old business, 32, 33, and 34, you can leave them right where they are if you'd like, and then
They're coming back, or?
They can't make it to this meeting, but they didn't give any more information. I believe we were waiting on an appraisal for appeal number 34,
Yeah,
the
we
house on
continued
Gale.
because he didn't have an
I
appraisal and
got
said he was
information
obtaining
back
one.
that they are not going to get an appraisal, so you could decide today, or
But they
for
would
the
like
sake
to
of
come
time-
back.
Yes, they said that they would like to come back.
Okay, all right,
why are we here, old business? Let's get through old business and just,
yeah.
you want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
84 is not present, but it looks like 89 is, so. That's you, but I'm letting them try to circle around.
The board's gonna take a recess, 10-minute recess. We'll be back in session at 12 o'clock. Okay, it is 12:01. Is everybody ready? Okay, recess is over. The meeting is back in session. We're going to tackle old business here next. So we have appeal number 32, 33, and 34, and I believe that applicant is not here. Is that correct, Wendy?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're gonna be listening to those. I think last time we talked about having that as all, that's one individual. We're gonna be listening to that as one appeal. So we need a motion to put that onto the next,
You don't have to make a motion necessarily. I mean, it's under
It's
old
just-
business and there it shall
it's
stay.
just
but-
gonna stay?
But
Yeah,
if
what-
you want to make a motion with a decision,
Well, that's the question now, because we have old business, and then we have the decision-making. Should we run through old business as informative, and then move to the
it's up
decision-making?
to you. But what I would suggest you doing, just to clean up your new business, because old business is just, that's going to hang out. I would suggest that you clean up your new business first. I mean, they'll end up moving to old business, but if you feel like you want to make a decision on those, I would move on them. But if not, then you would at least want to make a motion for those.
I'll make a motion that we just move this, we move 32, 33, and 34 to the next meeting.
Okay.
Under old business.
I second that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Number 84, Pinch, Stephen, and Karen. I had to recuse myself on that. They're my neighbors in my neighborhood. I know they weren't going to be here, so in the spirit of, well, I shouldn't really be talking about that because I had to recuse myself.
Correct. You can speak to it as
Yeah.
a chair as far as what you want to do. If you're ready to make a motion, not you, but the remainder of the board, with a decision, you can do that. If you don't feel comfortable with that today and you want to think about some more, you can move that to the next as well.
Okay, what would you like to
They're
do?
not in
Alan?
attendance,
Yeah.
and there should be a letter dated January 31st in the packet saying that there was a letter that was submitted, so you should have that.
I see the letter.
Yeah, there's it's a 2-page letter dated January 31st, whether you want to read that into the record, but that's in their place, so I would recommend that you read that into the record, and if you want to make a motion at that point to decision it or move it, that's up to you.
Make a motion to move number 84 to the next meeting. Since one of the board members that heard the appeal is not here today.
I think, so I could be wrong, but was Ken at that?
No.
I think, so it was just me and Alice.
It was only the three of us that were here at the meeting, and I
Right.
recused myself, and we had checked it. So two votes are, if two votes are unanimous, then that's, that you can do that.
I withdraw my motion.
So what you're suggesting is that this letter be read into for the record, correct, Wendy?
I would
I'd be happy.
at
I'd be
least
happy to
into
read
the
it since
record, because you don't have to read it again once you've done that.
Yep.
And if, based on what you've read into the record, if you feel like you want to make a decision, you can do that.
I volunteer to read the letter since I was part of the original hearing. Letter dated January 31st, 2026, from Stephen and Karen Pinch. Dear members of the Tax Assessment Board of Review, our sincere thanks to you all for listening to our request for a reduction in taxes on our property at 188 Winchester Drive. Although we were disappointed not to get a decision at your January meeting, we understand that you preferred to give it the time it deserves. Sincerely appreciate your careful review and consideration. Unfortunately, we are unable to be at your February 10th meeting to participate and field any questions you may have. Should you need to reach us, please call Karen.
Don't read that number into the record.
Karen's cell, number redacted, it's a cell phone number. Thank you for catching that, because I was really just going with it. So the letter continues. Please allow us to recap our position and rationale for the request. Land, our lot is subject to severe flooding during king tide events in December of 2022. The pond covered our entire lot. Although this is a rare event, it is not unusual for king tide to come into the yard. Coastal Resources Management Council has required us to plant a 25-foot buffer in the yard, thus reducing our usable space. Additionally, the town has required us to install a rain garden in the backyard. Together, these requirements render approximately half our backyard unusable. for recreational purposes. Neither neighbor on either side has these requirements at this time. Our neighbor at 184 Winchester has a .41 acre lot compared with our 2.23 acres with much more waterfront frontage, yet their land assessment is $55.91 per square foot, where ours is $92.26 per square foot. We estimate they are a foot higher than we are, and they have no issues with flooding. Building. As discussed at the January 21st meeting, the seemingly random designation of our home as custom has created a huge disparity between our valuation and that of our neighbors. We cited 2 examples of neighbors who are designated as colonial or conventional who have a far lower per square foot valuation than we do. The home at 265 Winchester Drive is very much custom, yet is designated as colonial, and they pay $217 a square foot. The home at 6 Quagnut is designated as conventional and is practically the same house as ours, paying $277.68 a square foot. 6 Quagnut has 3 floors like ours with the garage under the 2 living floors. Ours is essentially a rectangular box with small roofline adjustments, hardly custom, yet our square foot price is $459.71, more than double that of 265 Winchester Drive. Quagnut was built at the same time as ours, so age depreciation are not a factor. This hardly seems fair or consistent. The letter has 3 photographic exhibits and concludes, we respectfully ask you to please consider changing the style designation of our home to either colonial or conventional so we can be more fairly assessed. Once again, we sincerely appreciate your time and attention to this matter. Many thanks. Sincerely, Stephen and Karen Pinch.
What is your pleasure? Would you like to move this to the next?
Just a reminder that Alice does have a motion on the floor to move it.
She withdrew.
Oh, I missed that. I'm so sorry.
That's good. We're trying to, keeping everything on above board.
So we don't have a motion on the floor, so what is your pleasure?
Right.
Alice and Brad.
Yeah, the challenge here is that we don't have enough time to do decision-making at our meetings. That is I need, this will take 10 or 15 minutes of discussion. This is 1 out of 14 plus unresolved cases. I don't know how to proceed. This happened at the last meeting, and I don't know how to proceed now with trying to rush decisions through at the 11th. I have to be out of here at 12:30. So we could do this one and not hear any others, or we can continue forward, but it's like each decision, the decision-making, it takes 5 to 15 minutes typically for one property. Do we need to have a meeting just for decision-making? Do we need to start the meeting with decisions? Because this is going to keep going.
The clock is really important because we had 4 new business today, but they spoke for 30 minutes, not 10 minutes. So I think that's really the buttoning up of the new business. But if it's a pleasure of the board to, for the next, just to kind of come up for some air, for the next meeting, just handle old business, we can just have an old business agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to figuring out ways that we can actually, because the decision-making is the part that requires, I think, the space to, like, reach a thoughtful decision for people. And so, like, on this one, I would just, at this point, I would probably move it forward to the next meeting. Although I don't relish that. But yeah, my motion would be to continue this to the next meeting when we hopefully have time to discuss and decide.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those, just for the record, I am recusing myself, and David Bott is not voting on this. We have 2 ayes, and are there any nays? There are no nays, so this motion passes. Next item under old business is 89, Bookbinder. Bruce. Did you say this was going to be, what did you say about this one, Wendy? I'm trying to remember.
Nothing's happening other than the attorney does happen to be present because the attorney is also representing 2 of the appellants under new business. So
Okay.
this might not be the worst opportunity if you had any questions, but I'm not sure that we're ready necessarily to have that because it's moved from the public forum to now the decision. So it's really up to you whether you want to address that today, if you have any questions. You have the opportunity today. I'm not sure, he may be present next time, so that's up to you, whatever you decide, if you want to deal with it today or do more research and come back again.
If there's somebody representing Mr. Bookbinder, if they could come up here, please, and we can just have a quick chat about this, and we'll figure out what we're going to do.
Good afternoon, Joe Carnavale for the property owner.
I guess my only comment at this point is, we were talking about just how these things are going to take some time, so I guess we're not really prepared to really make a decision on this today, Mr. Carnavale, just based on the schedule here and the comments by Mr. Hebner, which are very well appreciated. So I guess, do you folks have any questions at all? I don't have any questions on this at this time.
No, I think we got the information we needed last time.
So what we're going to do here is, we're going to just do the best we can and reschedule this as soon as we can.
Sure.
So, okay, thank you. Next item is number 40. Oh,
Are we in we're in the decision? Oh.
yeah, so we have to make a motion on this. I make a motion that we put this on the next upcoming agenda, and that date is to be determined for appeal number 89.
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is number 40, appeal number 40, Stephen and Dana Gregory.
Mr. Bod, we received Friday at 5 o'clock correspondence from Mr. Gregory. It's a letter to the board. I will pass that down. I recommend you read the letter into the record. It's this first one.
Okay.
There's July 30th, but it's this shorter one, February 6th. Don't hit the other one, he read that already. Thanks.
You want to do it?
Okay, we have a letter, this is appeal number 40, Stephen and Dana Gregory. This letter is dated February 6, 2026, and it's addressed to the members of the South Kingstown Assessment Board of Review. Thank you for continuing to review our assessed appeal. After attending your last two meetings in person, we have seen and appreciate the time and careful consideration you are taking in this appeals process. Although we do not have any further information to add to our case, we ask that you please review our evidence thoroughly and reduce our assessment. As mentioned by other appellants, we understand the need and purpose of real estate taxes and are very willing to pay our fair share to benefit from the services provided by the town of South Kingstown. I have attached a letter that we sent to the town of South Kingstown assessor on July 30th, 2025. Your information package should also have sales comparables. We have provided in a letter dated October 20th, 2025. This was read at the time our property was first on the agenda for the Assessment Board of Review. We truly wish we could be at this meeting to remind everyone our 4 points from the previous two meetings. Just to highlight a few. There is a lack of sales to validate our current assessment of $2,772. Using only newly constructed properties recently added to the tax roll as supporting evidence does not justify a proper assessment. As seen on the field cards, some owners of those properties also have contested their assessments. Item number 2, there is a difference of over $1.6 million in the assessments of 6 homes on Englenook Lane. While some are older, they contain very similar characteristics in size, style, and lot configuration. Point number 3, the property card style classification of custom seems to automatically and unproportionately increase the assessment valuation. Number 4, we provided an appraisal of a $1.85 million dated March 8th, 2024. As we discussed at the December meeting, we are aware of the differences in comparables in the unfinished landscaping. The appraisal is relatively close to the 12/31/23 assessment from only 2 months earlier. Item number 5, There was an evolving assessment as our home was being constructed. On 12/31/2023, it was $1,511,300,000. Our home was completed in February 2024. On 12/31/2024, it was assessed at $2,837,600. After a phone review with a Vision of Government Solutions on March of 2025, it was reduced to $2,772,100. After the reduction, it still was an 83% increase in 1 year. We feel we have adequately provided the evidence to substantiate our request assessment of $2.3 million. Thank you again for your time and consideration. Stephen and Dana Gregory. Now, this letter that was in here, this is a previous letter that was previous evidence, so I don't have to read that, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, what is the board's pleasure? I think our plan here is to extend this one as well to a future meeting.
I would continue this, although it's been continued several times, but I would continue it also because Mr. Monroe, I believe was present when we originally heard that case with the applicant in person. So I would suggest we continue it and see if we can get a full assessment board present to decision that. I wouldn't want to lose the applicant the opportunity to have all of the voices at the table when we make that decision.
I agree. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. So these dates here we're just going to figure out these dates at this point. So it's a date to be determined. Do we have to put that into the record as well?
You can say that at part
Yeah.
of the motion, date to be determined.
Okay. Can we add that, Brad? Date to be
Yeah,
determined?
right, continue to a date to be determined
Okay.
by the board.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the next one is Lot Appeal Number 53, Lot TCW 13 LLC. I believe Mr. Monroe was present at that one as well. He's very familiar with that property. I would make a motion that we extend that, or we move that to a meeting in the future and the date to be determined.
I would second that motion. And this is Lot TCW, is that right? Yeah,
That was Turner Cove, I believe, down on
Turner
Salt Pond.
Cove. No, I would just add that the applicant was present earlier before the meeting and had related to us that he would unlikely to attend a future meeting in person or unable to, but would like to share the summary of his thoughts
And I
you know,
believe
additional
I did
information.
encourage him that if he would like to submit any additional words, or, we've been reading letters into records
Yeah.
in lieu of being present, and he gave me feedback that most likely will occur.
So we can anticipate, we'll take into consideration the additional commentary and information at that meeting at a future date.
And we leave the date to be determined up to staff after they converse with the applicant. Who made that motion anyway?
Me?
Who just made that motion?
That was you, Chairman Bud,
Okay.
you first, and
Okay.
Mr. Hebner.
Oh, that's right. I seconded
Yeah,
it with
yeah.
It's lunchtime.
with comments.
And the date to be determined is going to be with staff and consult with the applicant.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those, all right, so hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Okay, so it is we are done with old business. It is 12:20, and this board, we're gonna have to adjourn here at 12:30 today. So, we have new business, and let's figure out or discuss how we're going to work, to discuss appeal number 60. We have, what is the board's pleasure? I think, well, what we were talking about was, we want to take some time to be able to look at this and discuss this. So, it sounded like when we were talking, when we were thinking about moving ahead with this, we need more time than what we have here today. So,
I think we would be able to do our best with this to not do it under a severe time constraint. There were two arguments made. One relates to a comparable sale in proximity of the subject that I think we could research further. And I think we were presented a spreadsheet of other assessment comparables indicating, arguing disproportionate assessment that we could take a closer look at as well.
I'm not prepared to like dig into this here because we don't have enough time today. So I guess really what I'm just trying to,
I'll just say too, there were other
Yeah.
arguments raised during the hearing related to the functionality of the living space that's being assessed, among other items that came up. Yeah.
so I think it's the general, how do you feel, Alice?
I feel as though we need a meeting just to make decisions. It's going to take more than an hour to get through all of these decisions.
With the time constraint, would it be the appetite of the board to motion Appeal 60, 88, 90, and 104 to old business, and then the next meeting will just run an old business agenda?
Yeah, I think that's where we're going, that's
You
where
tell me.
we're going
Right,
with
because
this.
what's happened a couple times is that because all of the old business ends up on the agenda, people attend, and then we're left in the same boat where we're like, people
Can make it known that the public comment portion is over, so you're just doing decision-makings, regardless if there's a room full of people.
I think that will
and
help us.
A room full of mics, they're not going to be allowed to comment at that point, so that'll give you the focus to be able to decision the old business and then start with a fresh agenda the next time.
So I'll make a motion that we, appeal number 60, I make a motion that we put that on old business at a future meeting to be, a future meeting and the date to be determined. Do we have a second?
I second that. Could we group them? I mean, would
You
would
can make
yeah.
a motion to group 60, 88, 90, and 104 if you'd like, or you can do them individually.
either way.
I'm sorry, let me say that on
Yeah,
the mic. There's a
I'm fine,
motion
I'm
on the
fine.
floor
I mean,
for
so
60.
what are you saying, Brad? Just saying
You
that
could
we
amend
can,
it.
we can go ahead and, the next meeting we have, this will be the first item on the agenda. Is that
I was
what
just
you're-
saying if you wanted to make a motion for the 4 properties that we could continue to that next meeting rather than do it individually, but that's,
Yeah, let's do,
that's
yeah.
your,
No, I'm
your
okay
pleasure,
with
I'm
that.
sorry.
So I amend my motion to move the following appeals to a meeting in the future to be determined, appeal number 60, number 88, number 90, and number 98.
I think it's 104.
Oh, 104.
98, you already made the motion, so
Oh,
104.
okay, all right, appeal number 104, I stand corrected.
I second the motion.
Is there any other discussion? So my only question is, how are we going to determine this? You're going to have some we're going to figure out when we're going to have the meeting, correct? And then then you folks are going to connect with the applicants and,
I'll make sure on the next meeting, the agenda is strictly just it's basically this agenda. It'll all be grouped up under old business, so it'll be under board discussion and decision to approve. So there will be no public comment. I'll make sure that people know that whether they want to attend or not, it's still a public meeting, they can. But you can really wear the hat of focusing on each one and having the conversation with the board without, public comment and being.
my only other question is, these 4 appeals that we just mentioned, are we going to put those, what's the board's pleasure to put those on we already have old business that was already previously heard from the previous meeting, so I guess my only
Are
question is.
you asking where you want them in sequence?
Yeah, we
Whether
can-
you
we
want to
can-
move them under Appeal 53, which is what would happen. So the old business, starting with Appeal number
So
32.
I was going to say, I mean.
It's kind
in all
of first
due-
come, first serve, basically,
Yeah,
so.
in all due respect, with the way the calendar is, or the way these appeals were presented, we really should add these to the bottom of the old business list.
I'll do that, and then just so you know, the board can move as it wishes within the agenda. So once I do that, so Appeals 60, 88, 90, 98, and 104 will go under Appeal 53, okay, in sequence, but you can à la carte when you're, moving through, you don't necessarily have to go in that particular order. If you're ready to move on something that's, maybe in the middle, you have the right and the authority to do that, whatever the board feels comfortable with. However, historically, we've always dealt with it in sequence, so I'll go ahead and continue that and move them under old business in sequence, and then when the discussion happens at the to-be-determined meeting, you can move about the cabin how you see fit.
A question. On 104, haven't we decided that that's not something that we can even comment on?
I don't believe we made what motion do we have, Liz, on the books? I'm sorry.
I think we included
Good
104 in the continuing, in the,
We did.
to continue it.
We did. So actually,
Thank you.
you could rescind, thank you, I'm sorry, it's getting late. You can rescind that motion to remove 104. It's already been, he's good. We're going to work with him.
Okay.
One motion I didn't have down.
I think you made the motion.
Yes, that was, sorry, Mr. Bod. So you,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you first, you made the motion, and Mr. Hebner seconded, moving 60, 88, 90, 98, 104. You can amend that now to remove 104, and that takes care of it.
I make that amendment as per your comment, Wendy.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. So all this new business here will be on the next meeting, and we are going to just we are just going to do old business. So the next question is, when is I know we have another meeting scheduled right now, right?
We don't have another one in the books. You can do that now, or we can communicate through email, include Mr. Monroe.
I think it would be, because we have lingering cases
right-
that Mr. Monroe heard, it would be good if we could do this over email to schedule a time that would work for we'll need the entire board.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Can we do this? I mean,
Can we
just-
tentatively schedule? Is there-
Yeah, why don't can the three of us see what our schedule is like, so at least we have three of us here, we can
Yeah.
somewhat be productive with a time frame. And then, if we can come up with maybe 2 or 3 options, and,
I'm willing to put a few dates down as
Yeah.
placeholders, and we can work with Ken to kind of refine that.
all right, it's February 10th today. So, I'm going to be away for some time in March. So I would say, I mean, do you folks want to try to do something this month?
I feel like we should proceed with urgency to try to resolve these cases.
Since we don't necessarily we usually give a notice, but since
Do we
they're-
need a notice that, do we have a minimum time frame, Wendy?
You can run a meeting on Friday if you wanted to at this point. So normally, if I know people are coming, I want to give them at least a 10-day window, because with the mail and the snow, I mean, I've heard it all. But for the purpose of the next meeting, since it is all old business and there isn't open, it's just the board has to get here. I mean, obviously, they'll be notified, but it won't be as big of a window to get their information together, because that opportunity is now passed. So you're more than welcome to meet as soon as possible if you'd like.
My only comment is I might be away most of the week of the Monday is the 23rd, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. I'm probably going to be away most of that week, but I'm not 100% sure. So that would leave the week of the 16th, or if not next week, then we're going to be into, the first week of March, which I will be around.
I'd be able to take a stab at a meeting next week. I have availability. I mean, there's a holiday on Monday, right? That's President's Day. But if we wanted to do something midweek next week, to at least try to work through the backlog.
I'm just looking at the town council schedule right now to see what room, if we can
It is the
even be here.
Yeah, it's a
So-
school vacation, right? So it's
Well-
a February break.
The
Are you
18th,
gonna
we
be
could
around?
have the room at
Oh, yes.
9.
Spend time with the kids?
I can be here. Yeah,
You sure?
yeah. I can be here. I don't have.
There's only one day that town council chambers is open next week for us, and that's Wednesday, the 18th. And it can be at 9 a.m. It doesn't have to be 9:30. I usually need a little bit more time to get other things ready, but.
I would need 9:30.
Okay, yeah,
for
so
that
the
one.
18th at 9:30, if that works, we could throw that out there.
We could, and then I think if we need to revise based on Ken Monroe's schedule, we can,
February 18th at 9:30, it works for me.
It works for me.
okay,
Yeah, I was gonna
Yep.
say, yeah, that's the first date. If you folks want to meet on the week of the 23rd, I probably won't be here. I don't know 100% yet.
I would say don't even go there
All right,
then.
all right.
Yeah.
So
So
now we're into-
March 2nd on the Monday, I don't usually like to come in hot on a Monday, but then the room's available. The room's available on the 4th as well, which is a Wednesday. And it looks like that's it for that week for this room.
so I'd be unavailable on the 4th. I've got a state appraisers meeting, but I could make the 2nd, the Monday.
And that would be a tentative to the 18th, depending on snow and a quorum and all of that. And if 18th happens, then we can talk on that day if the 2nd makes it. That's up to you. Yeah, I do need to hold a room.
I think I could do it the 2nd.
I could do it the 2nd.
Okay, so I'll reserve the room and for the backup date for March 2nd, and then for now, we'll go with the
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah, we're talking 9:30 for both meetings, and I
9:30.
would prefer not the 2nd, but I think I could do it.
Agreed.
Same, we'll make
So-
it work.
And do we want to do a third? I mean, the 9th I'm flexible too that week, or the 9th is a Monday.
I mean, while we're at it, it's
We
better to
will
book
eventually
them.
need to meet it because we still have cases we haven't heard yet.
You got it. So the week of the 9th, the 12th. We could have the room on the 12th, Thursday, the 12th, March 12th. It's the only day that week this Chambers is available.
That's going to be tough for me. I could do,
I have a medical appointment at noon, so I could give a couple hours in the morning, but
Let's look at the following week then.
I would prefer the 10th, and then I would prefer the 10th or the 11th.
Let me see.
Yeah, and the week of the 6th, March 16th, I'm out of town.
I can tentatively say yes to the 10th, although I don't know if, usually there's staff meetings that are held in the chambers, so I'll know soon, so why don't we just tentatively, I'll book it. And if there's a staff meeting, unfortunately, I can't
Does
be
that
two
work for you
places at the
guys?
same time.
what did you say, the 10th?
The 10th.
But potentially looking at the 10th.
Yep,
March
so right
10th,
now we've got the
Tuesday.
18th at 9:30, backup dates are March 2nd at 9:30 and March 10th at 9:30.
Right. We might need all of those dates too,
Yeah.
realistically.
Probably look at the week of the 23rd too, because if that staff meeting is, you're not gonna be able to get this room. So it's
Yeah.
best to book ahead. You can always cancel.
The week of the 23rd, actually, you got the whole week. That's it. And then the following, it gets a little bit more opened up, but that's how it works around here. So if you want to do another backup date that week or a few, that's the week of the 23rd, the rooms are.
If you guys
are
want
open.
to, if you folks want to, try to pencil something in for the 23rd, I'm good with that too.
It's a Monday.
I would prefer not Mondays and Fridays, so.
All right, so
So, I
I
mean, if we
agree
can
with
do
you.
like
So.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday is best for me.
24, 25th, 26th. I would suggest the 25th or 26th, just because I'm not sure, again, Tuesdays and mornings, sometimes the.
25th is a Wednesday. I'm usually available on Wednesdays.
25th?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah,
How about you, Alice?
25th, I have an appointment, doctor's appointment in Westerly, so.
Okay.
At 12:30, so.
Oh, all right,
So if it's short, I can,
all right, we'll reserve the room, so we've got the 18th at 9:30, March 2nd, March 10th, and March 25th at 9:30. We'll reserve the room, and we'll just go from there. Does that make sense?
Okay, and then you're going to get back to Mr. Monroe, and we're going to see if he can
Yes,
Yeah,
Yep.
join
handle
in.
these dates or
Yes.
attend most of these.
yes.
Okay. What else do we have to discuss about?
Adjourn.
Anything else about scheduling or anything else? No?
No, thanks for working with us on
Yes.
trying to find a solution to the workload.
Yeah, sorry, gentlemen, we're doing the best we can here, and, I know it's, so, we're trying. So,
Thank you.
all right, any other discussion?
I would just make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, do we have any discussion? Oh, do we have a second first? We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting has been adjourned.